everybody, and I appreciate the fact that you took some time out of this busy time of year, as we have so much going on, to be here. Basically, it's a public forum. It's really been almost a year in the making to get to this point. We're here to discuss the International Day and Evening Academy at Malden High School, a unique program looking to meet the needs of ELL learners that perhaps are close to or will be beyond the age requirements to earn a diploma. And this is a growing population, especially in our area. It's a growing population in Malden, and this is a golden opportunity, I guess. If you have questions, it is a public forum. You can come speak to it, announce your name, where you live, and we'll do our best to try to work through this. And if there are any questions, I would also look to bring the person and the principal, honestly, Dana Brown, to the front table here to help answer some of these questions with us. They've been on the ground. I'd like to ask Shireen to come up also, because I think they have by far more practitioner knowledge to the way this will work and the development of it than myself and the school committee. We've been part of the process, but their hard work and it's their focus that has really moved it to this point. So, Principal Brown, and very good. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, are we I guess for formality reasons, are we holding it to so many minutes per? All right. Do we have a timer? All right. There we go. Typical public comment is about 4 or 5 minutes.
Said that when I got on.
So that's why we just cut it to 2 minutes. No, I'm okay. We'll go with okay.
Minute and a half.
Here we go. All right, kick us off, Principal Brown.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for taking your time out to listen to us about this new program. In a new land, not speaking the language very well, if at all, but full of hope and wonder and looking forward to the seemingly endless possibilities and opportunities. I can only imagine what it must be like to be a new immigrant in the United States, in Malden. Wow. The reality, however, for many of these young people is actually a daunting one. A fair percentage of the immigrants who come to this country for education and opportunity come with major gaps in their own home country education, lapses of several months or even several years. Walking into Malden High School, many of these newcomers are labeled overage and undercredited, a combination term we use for those young people who might be 18 years old in the 9th grade or 21 in the 10th grade, behind their peers in the accumulation of graduation credits. According to the usual Carnegie Unit measurement system that Mass high schools use for graduation purposes, these students are not on track to graduate and in fact may never be able to graduate by the time they have to leave Malden High School. They would be dropouts. IDEA proposes to solve this growing issue with these students, offering a curriculum that blends competency-based education with traditional coursework. The students can advance quicker through the system, not waiting for seat time to accrue, but rather moving ahead according to their talents and abilities. Demonstrating what they can do and what they know, they may be able to catch up. Of course, all of these students would still need to pass MCAS, or POC if we go there, in math, ELA, and science, ensuring that Malden High School and the Malden Public Schools would be in compliance with state guidelines. I certainly understand that resources are not unlimited, but I ask you, if not this, then what? We have a moral obligation to make sure these young people are educated and prepared to enter our society as good citizens and good workers. Thank you. I would also like to present the superintendent with a letter from the president of Bunker Hill Community College, also expressing some of the same sentiments. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Brown.
Good evening. My name is Paul Degenkolb. I'm a French teacher here at Malden High School. And I'm here to speak about my experience this year working with Shireen and the Haitian community here in Malden. I have somewhat of a proficiency with Haitian Creole, and I'm I think the only teacher in the school who has that. Knowing that, we sort of put together a plan to address some of the very specific needs of the Haitian community in Malden, specifically around literacy development. Haiti has a very interesting educational system. The vast majority of kids in Haiti go to school and learn French. They are literate in French. They don't speak French. They speak Haitian Creole, which is a completely different language. So they come here without the ability to transfer their skills from the language they speak, from a language that they can speak and read, to develop literacy in English. So it creates some specific problems for them. So I've been working with that population. Before I was a teacher, I was a youth worker in Boston, and it's a natural fit for me to sort of support students in their new life here. As Mr. Brown stated, it's a very daunting experience to adjust to life in a new country and go to school and deal with all the social pressures and things like that. So what has happened is, in addition to offering literacy support, we basically have an after-school drop-in, and it's pretty much could be a full-time job. It really is, to support these students, and I'm doing my best, but I'm a full-time teacher too, and I think without additional support in future years, we would lose the ability to support these students here at Malden High School. And I think that would be a great loss for the school and for the students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Barbara Sabelli. I live on Oakland Street in Malden. I'm a secretary at the high school. I just have a letter to the Malden School Committee. I'm here to support the plan for the International Day and Evening Academy. Since my time at Malden High School, and even since my kids' time here, a lot has changed. We are now among the most diverse high schools in Massachusetts, and half of our students go home and speak a language other than English. Working in the main office, I always see the ESL students when they first arrive. Some are excited, many look scared, but all bring a unique background to the Malden High School that adds to our rich diversity. All of our students benefit from learning about other cultures firsthand, not just in the textbooks. Now there are actual faces to the stories. At Unified Sports, we always say, one school, one team, and I wholeheartedly believe in this motto for all students at Malden High, no matter where they come from or what they have been through. They are our students, and we have a responsibility to provide them with an education that meets their needs. If a student has missed 5 years of school, they need more support. If a student is 20 years old, they need more support. If a student has to work full-time to support their family, then they need more support. Nobody here at Malden High is a throwaway, and I'm frightened that we're allowing too many students to fall through those cracks. Everybody has a purpose and need, a potential to be a positive contributor to our community, and if we don't help them nurture, no one's going to find it. We see it every day. Students who come to us after natural disasters, wars, and they manage to make it to Malden. I can't imagine how overwhelming it is for any young person to move to a new country and try to adjust to a new culture. On top of learning the language, they have to learn all of their other subjects and pass the MCAS to get a diploma and keep moving forward with their life. Many of our students are struggling, and we need to respond, not just for them, but for us. By investing in our young people, we are investing in the future of our city. Shame on us if we don't give them the support that they need. As a lifelong Malden resident, MHS graduate, parent of 3 MHS graduates, and a current MHS employee, I wholeheartedly support IDEA. Thank you.
My name is Susan Nyland. I live at 10 Clayton Street in Malden. I'm a parent of 3 current Malden High School students. My oldest also graduated from here 2 years ago. I would just wholeheartedly support everything that has been said so far, in particular what Barbara Schiavelli just mentioned. I think that the human piece to all of this is really what is most important, that we are all part of a community here, and presumably all feel very strongly about it being a positive and welcoming place. And I think that the IDEA program really represents an incredible dedication to bringing out the best in our city and the best in all of us. I don't want to take too much time. I'll just, if you wouldn't mind, read a bit of an email that I sent to Adam Weldi after, I believe, the school committee meeting that I wasn't able to be at when Ms. Eskovitz made her presentation. I'm fully aware that the city has not yet hit mass millions, but I would like to make at least a theoretical point that, in my view, the IDEA program represents what is an example of the best practice of our district public schools. We embrace students as they are upon arrival at our proverbial doorstep and do our best to meet their needs. I'm fully aware that the city doesn't have an open-ended budget with which to fund every initiative to come down the line. My hope is that the IDEA program encourages us all, school committee representatives and community members at large, to push the envelope, so to speak, and continue at a minimum the conversation about the quality of life to which we aspire as a city. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sheena LePere Pappas. I'm a sophomore at Malden High School. For the past school year, I have been peer tutoring for Miss Joyce. During this time, I have worked with students who have language barriers and or have a low education level. The different range in students and languages make the class different from the Algebra 1 class that I took. I was in a, due to the pace being slower for translation and to make sure that the entire class understands the material. Unlike some of the other peer tutors, I have helped teach people in the past, and so I feel more comfortable than some others. And working with the 3 students that over the year, 2 of them were twins, and I worked with both of them at the same time. I quickly learned that they were at 2 very different math levels. One of the students, who was a girl, had already seen a lot of the math material and showed that she had learned a good amount of it. The other student, who was her brother, had a medical condition that caused him to be taught at a different curriculum in his home country. I no longer work with either one of them, but they do work with the class. And I still see them today, and I see that the girl, she's doing amazing. She's actually moved up a level. But the boy I see every day, and he still struggles. I am now working with a 3rd student. She has never been to school, which makes it hard to teach her the algebra. Therefore, my goal is to reach her for, my goal is to get her to learn up to this level. And so that next year, when she takes Algebra 1, she will feel more comfortable, and she won't feel as unsettling with all the work being thrown at her. For me, I believe this program would be a great addition to Malden High School, because the students should have an alternative program that will help them succeed without making them feel overwhelmed or lost. I hope you take some time to consider this program to help these students succeed now and have a chance for a successful future.
Hello, my name is Roberto de Oliveira, and I'm a senior. I live in Malden, here at the high school. And I also pre-tutor in the same class as her. And I just want everyone to think about the perspective of the students themselves. Biology is hard for a lot of people. You know, freshman year you take it, and it's a really big struggle, and that's for kids who understand the language. Now imagine being put in a whole new culture, a whole new world, and then being thrown into this experience of learning something that you don't even understand the words that you're trying to put together the words of the sentence and while trying to learn a material at the same time. It's very difficult, and personally, I am not an immigrant, but my parents are, and I know my mom came here without knowing any English or anything, and so I see the struggle every day of not being able to understand the language and having to learn in that language and write and read. It's extremely difficult, and especially it's discouraging when they don't have a good support system in place for them. One of the kids that I met, I believe it was the first week that I started peer tutoring, he got he couldn't understand the material, and he said that he couldn't wait till he turned 16 so he could drop out. He didn't want to go to school, he didn't like it, he didn't feel like he could do it. Now that same kid is actually going to geometry next year, which is an incredible achievement. He's trying really hard and he's really pushing himself. And I truly believe that it is from the support system that he has been given in that Algebra 1 class, that kind of faith that he can do it and the ability to show him that he can do it. And I think a lot of the students in that class are able to succeed because of that in that class. And I feel like the support system through the IDEA program could do that for a lot of students, especially since a lot of the kids in that class are failing a lot of their other classes and things like that and truly struggling. And so because of that experience, I feel like it'd be truly useful to have this program in place.
Okay, good evening. I'm Diane Portnoy, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Immigrant Learning Center, which is right across the street. And what I'd like to do is just read a short letter that I'm going to submit to you that supports the IDEA program. Okay, so I'm writing in support of the proposed International Day and Evening Academy at Malden High School. Almost 23 years ago, I opened a free school with 3 classrooms and 60 students. A school which has served over 8,300 immigrant and refugee adults from 118 countries since its inception. One of the reasons I was inspired to open this free school is because my parents were immigrants, Holocaust survivors who had lost their entire families during World War II. They came to this country with nothing. No money, little education, no English, no friends or family, no knowledge of the culture and customs. They came with me, 3.5 years old. We actually settled right here in Malden. I don't know if any of you remember Suffolk Square. That's where I grew up. But what my parents did have were hopes, dreams, and the willingness to work hard and do anything to create a new life here for themselves and me. I see this every day at the Immigrant Learning Center, and I know you must see it in your schools. The goal at Malden High School should be for every individual to earn a diploma, regardless of where they come from or their past circumstances. Juggling the acquisition of language, culture, academic skills, and job skills all at once is an overwhelming task for anyone. Many of these young people are supporting themselves and their families, but job prospects are severely limited without a high school diploma. It is in our best interest to invest in these young people because we are investing not only in our community and our economy, but in the future of our country. I see many parallels between the missions of the Immigrant Learning Center and IDEA. Through English language immersion, citizenship classes, and a variety of support services, we help our students become successful workers, parents, and community members in this country. Through individual learning plans, internship opportunities, and wraparound supports, IDEA will help your students prepare for careers, active citizenship, and post-secondary education. On behalf of the Immigrant Learning Center, we are excited to support and partner with this new program. And we will do anything we can to support this. We will open slots, if we have to, at the Immigrant Learning Center to help some of these people learn English. It's a very, very important program. So again, we support this very, very strongly. And let me hand this letter to you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you have any questions.
To the Malden School Committee members, my name is Heather Northrop. and I'm one of the 2 ninth grade guidance counselors here at Malden High School. I've been working at Malden High for the past 6 years, and specifically with the ninth grade population for the past 3 years. During my time working with this age group, I've come to know and understand the very diverse needs of these students, much of which I'm sure you're already aware. As a student advocate, one of our most at-risk groups of students are our ELLs. As of today, there are approximately 115 ELL ninth grade students at Malden High, meaning 47% of our ELLs are only in the ninth grade. 1/3 of that group of students are overage for ninth grade. Typical ninth grade students are 14 to 15, sometimes 13 years old. One particular case that comes to mind when thinking of students who have fallen through the cracks is a young woman who came to Malden High in April 2013 from the Dominican Republic. She arrived as a 17-year-old freshman with no English skills and a 3-year gap in formal schooling. For a student like her, there are compounding obstacles in the way of her academic achievement. This student grew up in an area which did not have the same type of academic rigor that Massachusetts schools have. Coming to MHS, this student not only had to learn our language and our culture, but also had to manage to catch up on academic content that she had missed for 3 years in science, math, history, and English. Needless to say, this student was only able to obtain 2.5 credits in her 2 years at Malden High. She chose to no longer persist in her education and eventually dropped out after being a 19-year-old freshman again this year. This happened despite the multiple interventions, supports, meetings, and other strategies used at Malden High School to keep students on track for graduation. Stories like this student's are not as uncommon to a ninth grade guidance counselor at Malden High School as they perhaps should be. In a population that is already considered high risk and high transiency, to be considered at risk within that population speaks volumes to the extreme need of these students. It is our obligation to listen to this need and respond accordingly. And it is for these reasons that I support the IDEA proposal for the 2015-2016 academic year. Thank you.
Welcoming 17-year-olds into my home had never been really my plan. I'd always thought I'd adopt a younger child. Teenagers scared me. This changed through my work. I've been working with refugees and asylum seekers for the last 12 years. In the last few years, I've been seeing more and more young adults coming in from other countries that have had to leave their country because of persecution and trauma they experienced in their country of origin. I've been awed by them, by their maturity, their resilience. They've come to the United States seeking safety and dreams of an education and opportunities that they didn't have. I started thinking seriously about fostering a couple of years ago. I moved into an apartment in Malden, and I knew that a lot of my clients that I've worked with over the years, their families live here and their kids are going to school here. So becoming a foster parent to an unaccompanied refugee minor became a reality. So I became a foster parent 5 weeks ago, and she's been in school for about a week now. I only had 1 page of information about her, and in that was she had never been to school, she doesn't speak English, she survived a lot, and all she wants is to feel safe and have an opportunity for an education. In the short time I've known her, I've been amazed by her resilience, her strength, and sense of humor. She's beginning to understand how much she has to learn and is feeling really overwhelmed. I knew this would be an uphill battle, but this is a new reality for her. She's never had to go to school before. She hasn't had a routine like that. And we all know that the statistics are not good for young adults with little or no education to be successful in getting a high school diploma. We all know that not graduating high school greatly limits one's future choices. Think about what a life-changing opportunity this program would be for the child I'm with or the young adult I'm taking care of right now and all the other children or young adults that are coming in Malden High School. and those who will be coming, as there's going to be more coming. The flexibility, the individual education plans, this would give students flexibility and a chance to really succeed. I'm a social worker, I know that the Malden school system has too many needs and not enough resources. At the same time, I think this program could be an exciting opportunity to support a growing community in the Malden area. This program would give students like the one I'm talking about a chance to succeed in her education and her life goals. It would also bring an innovative and exciting program to the Malden school system. I would guess that this would be helpful in the rates of graduation and building the school system's reputation and meeting the needs of the community. As a new part of this community, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to advocate for this program. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Dennison. I work at the Career Place in Woburn, and I work at Malden High School 1 day a week to provide career counseling to students through a grant called Connecting Activities, which is through the DESE grant. And I also work with Ms. Collum and Ms. O'Connor. So I write this letter to express my strong support for the Idea Malden proposal, which would enable at-risk older ELL students to get the specialized attention that they need to graduate high school and be equipped for today's job market. I've seen the need for this program through my work. I provide career counseling to high school students 1 day per week to help them gain soft skills that they need to obtain a job and to help them through the job search process, which includes resume and interview preparation, filling out job applications, and identifying job openings in the local area. In the beginning of the year, I had many ELL students make appointments and drop in after school who were eager and determined to get a job. Many of the students had just moved to the U.S. within the last year and didn't have strong enough English skills to fill out a job application on paper or online without significant translation assistance from their peers. I found it difficult to help these students because of the language barrier and significant skills gap. Many of the older students have previous job and volunteer experience in their countries, but due to their language skills are not able to find employment. Many of the students also lack basic computer knowledge, including typing skills, which are important in any job, whether it is using a POS system on a cash register, doing basic internet research to find a job, email, and filling out online job applications. These older ELL students have a significant skills gap in comparison with their high school peers, which makes it more difficult for them to find a job in today's competitive labor market. Malden High School's Pathways program, an alternative program for students struggling within the traditional school system, has seen great success with students who have otherwise would have dropped out of school. These students have been offered flexible schedules and more personalized classroom approach that has enabled them to obtain high school diplomas instead of becoming another dropout statistic. A high school diploma is very important for any type of entry-level job. In order to encourage students to stay in school and complete their degree, the school system needs to adapt to the changing needs of students. Malden has a large influx of immigrants coming in from countries like Haiti, where many students did not use computers in their classrooms or homes and did not receive a lot of English classes. These students are behind when coming into the U.S. school system. A radical change like the Idea Malden program, following the successful model of the Pathways program, would enable students like these high-risk and older ELL students to get the personalized attention they need, to catch up with their peers, gain the soft and hard skills they need to obtain an entry-level job, and provide opportunity to attend college. Thank you for your time, and I urge you to strongly consider funding for the Malden Idea program. Thanks.
I'm just going to read you my letter. Okay. My name is Katie Kwong, and some of you actually know me from the past. I actually graduated from Malden High School from 1982. After college in 1986, I came back and served as a teacher in Malden High School in the bilingual program, and then I've been a math teacher ever since after the bilingual program has abolished. So as a resident of Malden, a former student and a teacher, I have observed and even have firsthand experiences with the changes of Malden student population, especially with the immigrant population. Besides the fact that the immigration population has grown in numbers and diversity, the type of students we have received has also changed tremendously in background, educational experience, literacy level, ability. Let's take the Chinese population as an example. When I was a bilingual teacher in the 90s, the Chinese students were literate in Chinese and had continual education from the native country. We also had a bilingual program in which students were able to get a lot more support in various ways from their bilingual teacher. As a bilingual teacher, I always felt that I was not only their teacher, but also their social worker, their parent, their cultural guide to America. In such setting, academic progress and behavior could be closely monitored. However, during the past 10 years, the Chinese immigrant population has changed. A number of the students come from areas that are less urban. Thus, they are not as prepared for the academics as their American counterparts. There is an increased number of overage students who may have limited number of credits from the previous schools. This is due to a number of reasons, such as China does not provide special need services to students, end up repeating years after years until they drop out. Students with less academic ability would enter book school after 9th grade, and they would only receive job training instead of a regular course load. Or parents allow students to stop attending school knowing that they will be immigrating to USA. So more importantly, Massachusetts has abolished the bilingual education. So because of these changes, students entering into the mainstream classes are much older than their peers, and they struggle more academically, especially since the instruction is English only. Additionally, since some of them have not been in school continuously, the motivation level for learning is low. All these factors, compounded with the fact of the move, have caused many of them to skip class, skip school, then eventually drop out. So placing these students in mainstream classes is inappropriate simply based on the fact that by age, we are not supposed to place students with more than 4 years of age differences within the same class. Many of these students are adults and act like one in their own country or within their own household. They do not have the luxury of time to take all the courses that a typical high school students would be required to do. They need a program to tailor more to their distinct and immediate need, which is acquiring necessary skills to receive a diploma from high school as soon as possible. Many of us have tried to help these students within the program that Malden High School provides, but have met with many obstacles and failed to help these students. So programs such as the IDEA may be the best solution. So hope you will give this program a serious consideration and give these students a second chance in their education. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph Gray. I live on Lebanon Street in Ward 6. I don't have any prepared notes, so this is going to be pretty short. What I'd like to say is that my point is it's more of a feeling. I didn't grow up with this. You know, I was an at-risk kid, but in my school, everyone was pretty much the same age. I don't feel comfortable having 3 children in the public school system. My eldest is now a freshman here at Malden High School, and having them be in the same class as 20, 21-year-old at-risk people, adults, that kind of bothers me. I'm hoping we can find the funds, the resources somehow to get these people in age-appropriate classes so they can get the help they need, get the resources they need, and find good jobs. Once again, my main concern as a parent is I don't feel comfortable having adults in the same class as 14, 15-year-olds. If I was an at-risk kid at that age, I can't imagine what an at-risk adult in the same classroom as young children, how that could influence them. Please, please find the resources for this. I support the IDEA initiative. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kate Haskell. I'm a chemistry teacher here at Malden High School. In each of my classes, I have a variety of English-speaking levels. I have native English speakers, I have ESL levels 2 through 4, and I have FLEP students that were ESL and are no longer. I teach between 28 and 31 students of very mixed abilities in each class. Although I teach a science class that has a lot of math in it, so students are very familiar with numbers even if they don't speak English very well, they're also required to read and write on a regular basis. When I meet people outside of the school system and I tell them I'm a teacher, I'm often asked, what age do you teach? And I never know how to respond to this question. I teach students who range from 15 to 20. These 20-year-olds struggle to connect with the 15-year-olds around them, and I ask them to work in groups quite often. On more than one occasion over the past couple of years, I've had a 15-year-old girl come to me and ask me to switch groups because she was very uncomfortable working with a 20-year-old man in her class. Students in their 20s often have significant obligations outside of school that hinder their ability to attend school. They often work to help support their families. Many of them have had interrupted schooling in the past. They struggle to learn study skills and make up lost credits, while their family obligations take up so much of their time. This year I have one 18-year-old sophomore and one 19-year-old sophomore. Students are usually 15 or 16 years old during their sophomore years. These older students are racing against time as they try to make up enough credits to graduate before they age out of high school. Last year I had a 21-year-old student in chemistry, which is traditionally a sophomore class with 15-year-olds. He often missed school because he was working full-time and sending support back to his family in Haiti. This young man almost didn't graduate last year because he struggled so much in chemistry. What we ended up having to do was set up an alternative schedule for him after the other seniors had already finished their classes, so that he spent 3 hours a day in my class when I was still teaching my other classes, giving him supplementary work to help him pass chemistry and to pass MCAS and to bring up his grades. This young man's story highlights the need for a school that is set up to meet the needs of students like him, with flexible schedules, more attention, more time, and takes into consideration the adjustment they need with cultural and language acquisition skills. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
My name is Kara Joyce, and I have spent the last 10 years as a math teacher at Malden High School, serving 9 years on a 9th grade academy, including 4 years as the team leader, and this past year as mathematics teacher leader for Malden High School. Additionally, I began teaching an Algebra 1 course for ELL students with interrupted formal education this fall. Regardless of which lens I look through, it is abundantly clear that we need the International Day and Evening Academy to run at MHS next fall. In my first year at MHS, I had 1 or 2 ESL 1 students in my Algebra 1 class. At that time, I was able to differentiate instruction to meet their needs. As I approached my 5-year anniversary at MHS, that number had grown to approximately 10 ESL 1 students, including 4 students who were either far too old to be in the 9th grade or who had not been in school for a significant number of years. I realized that we had no plan in place to meet the needs of these students, and as a result, I began a dialogue with teachers, teacher leaders, administrators, but we didn't know how to address the problem. Another 5 years have gone by since then, and we have made virtually no progress in the way we service these ESL students who are overage and or have limited formal schooling. Last year, I had nearly 20 ESL 1 students and approximately 15 more ESL 2 students. Within this group, I had nearly 10 students who were overage and had limited formal schooling. MHS is a very large school with many teachers and students. If I was feeling this overwhelmed as one teacher with 10 students, then I knew that the number of students in this situation was growing wildly. I was thrilled to hear that DESE had awarded a fellowship to MHS for us to finally create a program that would help these students find success. This year, I am as involved as I can be in getting IDEA off the ground. I teach the only math course at MHS that is specialized for ESL students, and we have only 1 section of this class. My course contains as many students as possible who have documented interrupted or missing formal instruction, and those students who are overage and undercredited. I do my best to service as many students as I can, but this 1 period of math is like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. I have had 38 students enrolled in this course at one time or another this year and have been forced to move kids back into mainstream classes or even turn other needy students away because we just don't have room for them. Another ESL 1 student who is overage
with interrupted education enrolls at MHS every week, and we are forced to weigh their needs over the ones who are already in my class. I know that I have moved students out into mainstream classes before they are ready in order to accommodate these new students with more needs. I also know that I am not doing everything I can for this population simply because there are too many of them for me to handle as just one teacher, one period a day. The good news is that these students can and will find success under the right circumstances. We have worked tirelessly this year to pilot various structures, programs, and curricula, which has helped us to finally figure out what this population of students needs. We've learned that these students need language supports beyond what an ESL class has to offer because they are uneducated in their own language as well as English. They need to learn concepts and ideas in both their native tongue and in English so that they can make parallels. These students need completely individualized education, not just differentiated instruction. Each student's gaps are entirely unique, and they will not ever fit into a box. As soon as we realized individual education was key and that benchmarks make more sense than courses, we began to see incredible growth. If each student gets what they need to fill in their educational gaps, then they can begin to show growth on an accelerated scale. To really get the picture of the students we are talking about, I would like to discuss one of the average students in my class, not one of the most extreme cases. He is a 17-year-old ninth grader, about to turn 18, who last attended school when he finished the 6th grade at age 12. In the past 5 years, he briefly attended an automotive program in his native country, but did not have any formal schooling. He only speaks Spanish, and his elementary skills are rusty at best because he has not used them in half a decade. This student is nothing like the average regular education student at Malden High School. He's not even like the average ELL student at Malden High School. He does not fit the mold anywhere at MHS, yet we put him into the same courses and programs as a student who completed grade 8 by age 13. He is one of many students like this or worse, and we need to meet all of their needs regardless of what boxes they fit in or don't fit in. Because of this, I support the IDEA Academy to run next year in Malden High. Thank you.
Sam.
Good evening. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the variety of reasons to support IDEA. So I have 2 letters, one from myself and one from Kristen Racino from South Bay Mental Health. So my name is Sam Margolis. I'm the program manager for Youth Harbors and the case manager here working with 18 to 21-year-old homeless unaccompanied students and students at risk of being disconnected from their families and self-supported. Obviously, you can imagine that some of the barriers that my students face are similar to the solutions that IDEA is attempting to provide, obviously. I work closely with Shireen on a number of my students' cases. My role in this school is really to focus on the supports outside of the building to allow our students to be successful and stay in school, stay connected. So we're working on the housing, the food access, healthcare access, all of the non-academics. But one thing I've learned in the last 3 years is that that's just kind of the foundation, that's the starting point. And then what happens after that is working closely with the school partners here to figure out what's the academic plan that each student needs to be successful. So 70% of my students right now have adjusted academic plans here at the high school. That might mean taking a different schedule to allow for a different work hours. It might mean taking an online class. It might mean coming in at different times during the day. So the variety of options that we offer here at Malden is pretty spectacular. So I want to recognize that because I work in 6 different school districts and the flexibility that's offered here is not always offered. This is one gap that's prevalent in Malden and other communities that we work with that I'm hopeful will be funded because Malden, I've seen be a leader in all of these different communities. It's kind of a few years ahead of the game, ahead of the curve. So my hope is that a few different gateway communities that have this population of students that Youth Harbors works with, that Malden will set the tone and really set the precedent of this type of school-based support that each of these communities really needs. with the mission of our schools really being, as everyone said, to recognize the needs of the students who are coming every day and are living in our community. So the biggest rationale to support IDEA for me is that that's our mission, and the consequence of not meeting that goal will be felt across the community. So I could give you a few examples, as everyone else has. I've got an 18-year-old freshman who I'm working with who became homeless earlier this fall, moved here in November, and the idea of I can't imagine what it means to be a freshman surrounded by 14-year-olds and adjusting to a new country, let alone the instability outside. But I do know that the likelihood of her graduating and building the self-sufficiency skills, it's pretty, that task is pretty daunting without this type of support. Another student of mine, we found out recently, won't graduate this year, and next year won't be eligible to come back because he'll be too old. So that's a student who has actually had stable housing, has worked part-time, has been coming every day, but the offerings here, despite everything that we can offer, weren't quite enough. And that's a student who would have graduated had IDEA been here this year and for the past 2. So I kind of went off the cuff. I'll give you the letter, but let me read. Kristen Rossino, I really appreciate your support, and I am confident that you'll give this the consideration that it requires, because, like I said, I think that I love working in Malden. Having experience working in 6 different communities, this is just a community that really recognizes the needs of its community members. So I know that you'll give this the attention that it requires. So Kristen Rossino is the clinical director at South Bay Mental Health, just down the road. And she said, to the Malden School Committee, I'm writing this letter in support of the proposed plan to initiate the International Day and Evening Academy that will benefit overage undercredited English language learners by supporting them in developing social and emotional and academic skills, increasing their graduation rate of this population of students, and improving their self-confidence. This population of students and adolescents is a population that we share with Malden High School. The group of individuals and their families on an overall basis experience higher levels of stress related to their transition to a new country, culture, system, and environment. These individuals must learn to navigate a new system, a new language, and walk the fine line between assimilating their culture while still finding pride in where they originated from. This population often has less access to resources, less natural supports in the community, and can feel isolated or alone. Besides that, these students are dealing with the real stressors that other people their age are struggling with, such as anxiety, depression, and school-related pressures. Being able to provide the wonderful and comprehensive programs to at-risk populations would benefit not only the students on a variety of levels, but also their families and communities they live in. When you provide support to an integral member of a family, it strengthens that family unit as a whole and fosters additional motivation and growth. Please contact me for any additional questions or information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Freeman, and I am a physics teacher here at Malden High School, and I also have a son in kindergarten at the Salem Wood School. So I'm here to talk about my experience working with ELL students, and also my experience, I've been working with Shireen on the plan for the IDEA school. And you've heard a lot of people tonight talk about the need that we have, the overwhelming number of students that can benefit from this, the obligation that we have to this, but I want to talk specifically about how the plan will address these students' needs, because we've really done a lot of work with the experience that we've had to help these students. So when I first started teaching here 5 years ago, I was teaching physics, and I was also given an algebra course to co-teach with Shireen, because in that class she had several students that had just come to this country that had very limited English, and they needed a lot of extra support. And as I was working with Shireen during the school year, we both realized that these students didn't have
the math skills that they needed even to take algebra. And so I spoke with Mr. Brown, and he decided that we would make a new course for these students to give them the skills that they need. So I took over a new class teaching pre-algebra skills to these students, and I started the course with 28 students in the fourth quarter. And these are all students that had just recently come to the country and didn't have enough skills to pass algebra, and they would have failed if they had taken it again the next year. And even though it was the fourth quarter, I continued to get more and more students, and I had well over 30 students by the end of the year. And some of those students did very well. Actually, they went on to pass algebra the next year, and I had them in physics again a couple of years later, and they did great. Many of those students came to see me and get more help in their math for the next few years. Many of those students I still see today, even though that class was 5 years ago. They haven't graduated. The plan for IDEA is a great plan because it will give the students the flexibility they need to gain those skills that they're missing. Some of those students, they just hadn't been in school for a long time and they needed a little time. And because IDEA works year-round and they have flexibility in the courses, the students will be able to brush up on those skills and then move on to higher levels very quickly if they need to. Some of them have, some of those students have already taken many of the courses that they need, but they can't get credit for it here because they didn't take them in this country. Just today, actually, I got a new student from China who's 19, and he's just coming to school, and he's going to be coming every day for the rest of the year, but he's not going to get credit for what he's doing. And he's taken physics for 3 years in China, but he's not going to be getting credit for it. So if he were an IDEA, we could find a way to test his skills and give him credit for what he already knows and what he's already done, instead of making him repeat something that he's been doing for 3 years and is even ahead of most of our students here already. And at the same time, he's coming at the end of the year, he'll be able to get started on his schoolwork right away instead of waiting until September. So the plan offers a lot of flexibility and specific ways to address those students' needs. And speaking on a more personal note, sort of piggybacking on what Sue Nyland was saying about how Malden doesn't have an unlimited open budget. As a working mom, I don't have an unlimited budget or unlimited time, and working in this school is going to require me to have a completely different schedule than I do now, having the exact same schedule as my son. But when Shireen asked me, do you want to teach in the school? I said, yes, of course, I want to do it because we need it so much. And it doesn't matter that it's going to be inconvenient for me. It doesn't matter that it's going to require extra money. These kids need it, and it's going to help them immensely. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Dana Marie Brown. As many of you know, I am a 2003 graduate of Malden High School, and I've been here teaching for 7 years. I like to joke with the kids that I've officially been here about half of my life. So this has been my home for about half of my life. I want to start by saying, which I know there are other Malden High grads in the audience, that Malden High School is a very different place than it was in 2003 when I graduated. Than it was in 1997 when I first came here, because we used to have middle school here as well. And I've seen even in the last 7 years the changes. It's been dramatic. When I started about 7.5 years ago, when I took over for maternity leave, we talked in circles about the needs of our special education students. And we were a little bit still behind the curve at that point. And we've made a lot of progress, from a teacher's perspective, over the last 7 years, meeting the needs of our special education students and being flexible and changing things. when they've needed to be changed. Even this year, we have a whole new plan for our special education students. We've been flexible, and that's one thing I'm really proud of as a teacher in Malden, as an educator in Malden, that somebody else had said it before me, we usually tend to be ahead of the curve, and we usually are the leaders for other districts that are like us. I want to speak specifically and quickly about a project I've been working on this year with Shireen. As part of this grant this year, I've been teaching a Saturday class of 9 ELL students. We come Saturdays from 9 to 12, and the course is called Revolutions. And in the course, we look at different revolutions from world history, but we also look at modern day revolutions. Interestingly enough, some of the revolutions that we look at are from the countries that the students are coming from, which is helpful as a teacher because they can connect to the material right off the bat. Just some logistics. I have 9 students who come Saturdays at 9 a.m. Sometimes they beat me here. Sometimes they straggle in depending on the weather. I have 2 Spanish-speaking kids, 5 Haitian Creole students, and 2 Arabic-speaking students. Like I said, they come on Saturday mornings. They get a half a credit for coming, but aside from that, they're coming on their own free will. What's been interesting over the last 2 months or so is that they have periodically started to show up at my door more and more, and it's not that I'm seeing them just on Saturdays. I'm now seeing them Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoons, like Paul Degenkolb said. It's more of like a drop-in. They work on stuff that they hadn't finished on the Saturday before or that they need from the Saturday next. The one thing I have realized is that I had no idea going into this what it was actually going to be. I had an idea of what a revolutions class would look like, having taught 8 years of history, and it has morphed into something completely different. Based on the needs of the students, it's become a combination of content and skills. Someone had said it before. We've spent more time talking about researching and creating presentations and giving presentations and how to speak to a group than we've really spent on actual historical content. While there's a gap, obviously, in language and a gap in content, there's also an incredible gap in skill development. And especially as teachers, we sometimes take for granted that students, especially those in upper grades or those who are older than others, can use technology appropriately, can find information quickly and accurately on the web, know who and where to go for help. The list goes on and on. In small groups, I have very quickly learned that these students are more willing and able to ask specific questions that are crucial to their learning and speaking to their regular education teachers, the ones that they're with daily. I have kids who will sit and chit-chat with me for 4 hours on a Saturday that won't raise their hand in their history class from September until April. Those are the same kids showing up at my door. Those are the same kids that finally last week I got to do presentations in front of 10 people on the revolution they had been researching. ELL students, just like all of our other subgroups in Malden, need a learning experience that is tailored for their needs. The structure that we use now no longer fits the needs of all of our students. Like I said, we have found that in the past with special education students and some of our other at-risk populations. And Malden, like I said, is at the forefront and usually is a leader, and no longer do we fit the needs of all of our students. It's been said before, but the especially dire circumstance are those students who find themselves over age and under credit. This population has grown, and I am confident that it will continue to grow and quicker every year for the remaining years I have here at Malden High School. And it no longer makes sense for us to just individualize plans for these very few students in our classes because it's no longer very few students. It's now our highest growing population at Malden High. We need an overhaul and not just pinpointing a couple of students at a time. I think that this right now is a crucial time for Malden. I think it's a crucial time for Malden High School in particular. And I think that if we do this, not only are we serving the needs of our probably definitely growing biggest population, but like I said before, we're also going to be a leader, and I think other districts just like ours are going to follow suit. So please consider IDEA as a Malden High grad, but also a Malden High teacher.
My name is Pat Laidley. I am a special education teacher here at Malden High School, a proud member of the graduating class of 1982. So I too have seen Malden come full circle in many ways, and I am a very proud staff member at this time. I am reading on behalf of Megan Tadano and Nancy Shea. They are Malden Early Education and Learning Program staff. Dear School Committee, the Malden High School Teen Parent Program is a collaborative effort between Catholic Charities and Malden High School. The program is designed to support pregnant and parenting teens in completing high school and furthering their post-secondary education. Our program offers childcare, parenting, education, case management, and therapeutic services. Our program currently consists of 6 Malden High School parents and 2 who are pursuing post-secondary education. 4 of the Malden High School parents are English language learners. They are currently behind on credits and in need of innovative teaching approaches to re-engage them in their educational pursuits. They often report feeling frustrated, hopeless, and ambivalent about their education. They feel isolated from their student body, not only because they are parents, but also because they are older than their peers, struggling with the language and comprehension, and significantly behind in credits. The International Day and Evening Academy would provide a more appropriate educational setting for our ELL population than the traditional school day. They frequently consider dropping out of high school because of their unique challenges they face as teen parents and feeling discouraged with their academic performance. Flexible schedules, individualized learning plans, and intensive language support would help ensure these students have the tools they need to engage in their education and reach academic success. The Malden High School Teen Parent Program strongly supports the implementation of the IDEA, and we look forward to creating a partnership to best support this unique population. And in closing, I want to speak on behalf of an initiative that I have the opportunity to work with on Thursday afternoon. We do work readiness and career readiness with 25 students that have been selected through a very intense process. Many of the population are ELL students, and I have to say watching them grow and thrive over the course of the last 7 months is quite heartwarming. And to know that this initiative brought forth has given them an opportunity to go out into the work environment. Many of them are working at City Hall, they're working in businesses here locally. So to support yet another initiative that has great value to our students, please consider it in full. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniel Wise and I work at Tufts University. My primary affiliation with them is working, and Malden is working down at the Makerspace. So I've been one of the people trying to run that, and I appreciate all your support for that. I can't speak for Tufts, but I sort of will. And since part of what we love about Malden is how much Mr. Brown and you guys have created different opportunities for the kids. Like, this is a big school, and as Dana says, it's a lot of schools in one. And we really admire all the different efforts that you guys have made for the school, including the Makerspace. I'm just here to express my support for IDEA because as much as we love to offer an alternative option, you know, like everyone here, we have kids who are overage and undercredited, and we've seen the ways in which the school can approach their needs but not meet them in all the ways. And having read the plan, having seen schools like IDEA, having worked at 3 different states in New York, California, Malden, it's my 11th year in education, I've seen what happens to 18-year-old 9th graders without this kind of support, and it's not good. And the ones who I talk to now who are still meaningfully giving back to the community, it's often because, as hard as we tried in my former schools, they found programs like IDEA that really offered a more comprehensive alternative. So again, I appreciate all that you've done already to help us. I'm here to express my support for Shireen and everyone else on this project. Thank you.
I do want to take this opportunity really quickly. I know that we kind of jumped right in because we wanted to get right to the meat of the public forum. But on behalf of Superintendent Drusi, my name is Adam Waldai. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Malden School Committee. I do want to give us a chance up here to allow the school committee members who are present to introduce themselves and see if anybody up front has a chance to weigh in as well, because we don't want to keep you much longer than we said we would. But I think we'll start over to my right just to introduce ourselves briefly.
John Froyo, I'm a retired Malden High School teacher. I'm on School Committee Ward 8.
Maria Doucette, I'm School Committee Ward 2, and I'm also a professor at Bunker Hill. which is home to students from 96 different countries. So I understand what it's like to teach diverse population. And just for the record, my first language was Italian. So you're preaching to the heart here.
And then again, I'm Adam Weldi. I'm the vice chairman of the committee. I'm also an 8th grade history teacher as well.
Len Iavino, Malden School Committee, former teacher, principal, 36 years in the system.
Peter Ciccolini, Malden High grad, 97. This night is actually a little bit personal for me, is just like Maria was just saying. I spent the first 4 years of school in ESL, so I understand the value of a good support system there to help the student just catch up. I mean, just catching up to the same level as their counterparts, even if they are a couple of years older. I understand, Joe, your concerns for your students, your children going to school with folks that are a little older. But I just feel like they're all there for the same reason, to learn, to make sure that they can keep up, and to give back to society. So while it might be tough for us to come up with the funds to support the extra staff, I just want you to know that this is near and dear to my heart, and I hope we can find a way to either compromise or to install this fully.
I think the comments so far have been, especially for all of us who've gotten a chance to interact with Shireen over the past year and learn a little bit more about the proposal, have been incredibly meaningful to see such a wide variety of stakeholders who came out to express their support from all different areas of the community. And on our part now, we're going to have to sort of take that back and see if we can reconcile that with the budgetary realities and constraints that we have, because in any scenario, where we keep year after year getting less money from the state, what it's going to involve is giving up something else. So, I think a lot of us very much empathize with the mission and the idea that Shireen really identified a very serious need in the city of Malden. And now we're going to have to sort of look and reconcile and see where it is that we can take away funds to potentially try to allocate money to a great program like this. So, on our part, you can never really think about it as adding a great program, because you have to think about it as adding and subtracting something else. But over the next month and a half, our budget process is going to play out a little bit, and we're expecting sometime in the next week or two to really get a better picture as to what that number will look like. And it'll also give us a better picture as to how much of a reality this can be. But those conversations will be serious, and they will definitely take into account not only the great work that Shireen has done with her team over the course of the year, but the comments that you all here tonight and many people in previous nights have come and made in support of a great program like the IDEA Academy. I don't know if anybody else up front wants an opportunity to speak before we close out. What I would like to do is ask for, how about a big round of applause for Shireen for all the work that she's done so far. And I suppose with that, does anybody else?
I think we do have I think there are maybe three-ish more out there, if that's all right. I think rather than holding a second public hearing, it might behoove us to.
We might have to let a couple of us.
Okay, that's fine. I think we have it all on tape as well, so.
Cool.
Yeah, come on up.
Sure.
Oh, fine.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Fatima Shibain. I am from Algeria, and I live on 60 Kimball Street in Malden. So I am here just because, actually I work at the Immigrant Learning Center. This is one thing, and I work with immigrants. I know, what's about immigrants myself. I had kids, and my son was 18, and he was 9th grade when we came here. So if we didn't push him, if we didn't, talk to many people, if we didn't, seek help with many people, so he had, been outside. And you were talking about budget. If you cut some other things, I think the extra help, teachers are doing, extra hours that they are doing just by themselves in small groups. I think you can just put all this effort in one big group, which can help a lot of students, and you can build future kids, not gangs. Okay, with many skills, students coming from, and you have Harvard universities coming from Malden High School. I think you can build a strong community with young people, not just gangs. Okay, this is my.
My name is Caitlin Dulesky. I'm a dropout prevention coordinator here with a grant called MassGrad. It started about 4 years ago. Briefly, I just want to throw some data. Most people have mentioned it, but the need is clear. We identified our most at-risk students when this grant started for dropout-related reasons. 1/3 are ELL. This is where it's different. The English speakers struggle in dropout and oftentimes have attendance problems. Our ELL students come to school early every day, sometimes 6 a.m., and sometimes here till 9 or 10 p.m. at night. A 2007 study in Psychology Today pointed the #1 reason for dropout is school connectedness. Almost all the students that dropped out stated that they didn't feel connected to an adult. It's something that we do well here. And to end on a personal note, I started in Malden about 9 years ago. I worked at an agency across the street. I'm a social worker. And then I started here at the high school about 4 years ago. And I was excited and passionate and ready, even though I'd never worked in education. And it was very hard. I didn't really know how to work in a school. There were over 50 languages here. Many of the at-risk students spoke languages. I speak one, the one I'm speaking right now. And I didn't think I could do it. And I'll admit, vulnerable in front of the school committee, sometimes I looked at some other jobs. And I thought, maybe I should just work somewhere easier. And over the past few years, I've deleted all my emails from School Spring. And I'm excited to come here every day because there's something special here. There really is. And I think you've heard that from everybody in the room, and particularly from outsiders who come in and pretty much say, Malden High School is different. But one area, to use the slang terminology of our students, one area we struggle is with our ELL students. And we need this program. We need something. Because if not, we'll just be basic. Thank you.
I think, do we have Mrs. Brennan?
Hi, how are you? My name is Natalia Brennan. I'm an English teacher here. I've been working for 9 years. I'm the one-to-one coordinator for the Chromebook Initiative, and I just recently purchased a house in Malden, so I'm also speaking to you as a future Ward 6 citizen of Malden. So I'm going to just abbreviate my letter. This year, I worked with Shireen, and we created a pilot class called Digital Literacy. And what we did is we created a course for ESL Level 1 and 2 students who had, who needed some skills with technology. And so what I learned is that my work at Malden, I love it here because we've created these individualized learning plans for students. But one area that we're sort of neglecting is our overage ELL population. And so we've developed programs that support a variety of other groups, Pathways, Freshman Academies, which I spent 8 years working with, and the GPS program. It's only right that we create this ELL program to, create a tailored program that fits their unique situations. So with this digital literacy class, it was only for 9th graders, and you'd have been shocked if you had walked into my class in the beginning of the program. We started in September. So I gave all the students laptops, and I was like, great, we're gonna do these awesome projects, we're just gonna hit the ground running. Except when my students got the laptops, they had a really hard time opening them. They didn't know how to turn them on, and they didn't know how to click and drag. So it was really an eye-opening experience. And so we're going to one-to-one, and so my concern was, how are we going to put these students in mainstream classrooms, because we don't have enough ESL programs like the Algebra 1 class that we have, or the after-school program with Mr. Dagenkolb, to support them, that we're putting them in these mainstream classes and giving them this technology, and they're not prepared for it. My favorite story, and I think Shireen's favorite story, is she walked in one day and she watched me place my hands over a student's hands, and we practiced Shift A to learn how to make a capital A. I also, if you walked in, would have watched me guide a student as we learned how to click and then drag. So the need is really real. In this class, I'm going to give you just 3 examples of the grade 9 students you would have encountered. One student came from Haiti. He stopped going to school after the earthquake. He has not been to school for 5 years prior to this school year. He's 20 years old. Student B is 17 years old. He comes from Honduras, which, if you're familiar with that part of the area, is extremely dangerous. He moved to the United States. His family moved here because it was too dangerous in his village. He hasn't been in school for 4 years prior to this school year. Student C started in Malden in 2012. December 2012 as a freshman. She's 17 years old and is a victim of abuse and other trauma. She is still in 9th grade ESL level 1, and she's been a 9th grade student for almost 3 years. Clearly something isn't working. While I acknowledge the great work of our ESL department, they're really great, those traditional classes are not working for all of our ELL students. We need to come up with different classroom differentiation strategies for this very unique and growing population of students. So teaching this pilot class has taught me a lot. There's a lot of things that I sort of assumed my students would be able to do just working with a traditional sort of English population. I usually only work with ESL level 4. And so there's a great need, and if we don't have IDEA, I don't know what else we're going to do. So I really support the work of Shireen, and I really look to this committee to help support a program that I'm very proud of, and I support wholeheartedly. And as a future Malden resident, you know, I want to be part of this community because we support so many different populations here. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll be very brief because this is only my first year here. But I student taught for Shireen and Kara 2 years ago, and then decided to come back because I think Malden is a fabulous school. I think it says a lot because 3 of the 4 Algebra 1 teachers are here tonight, and I just wanted to echo Kara's comments about basically triaging for Algebra 1. I have a class that has 14 English language learners out of 28 total students, and 4 of these students who would be really well served by Shireen's program were originally in Kara's class, but had to be moved out because they had more pressing needs. And I just think that's very unfortunate because it's not because they were ready to be successful in my class. In fact, most of them are not. But because there wasn't room for them anymore. So I just wanted to say that I really support Shireen's program and hope we can make it happen.
Thank you.
So I have about a dozen more letters, so I think I'll just hand them to you.
Hand them all. I'll make sure everybody on the school committee gets them.
Including the House principals and Mr. Janowitz and Ms. Muir, who all wanted to show their support but couldn't be here tonight. So I'll definitely hand those over to you. You've heard from parents, teachers, students, administrators, community members, counselors, and we all see the need. I think that's pretty irrefutable. Innovation schools were first brought to the table as an opportunity for districts to respond to charter schools. And so like charter schools, most ask for per pupil spending and some autonomy to spend it as they see fit. So that's where I started. 40 students per pupil spending, $520,000. That didn't seem very realistic. So we looked around because at Malden High that's what we do. We capitalized on community partnerships, on the Chromebook initiative, on some creative scheduling, working with the union. And so now this plan is down to 56% of the average per pupil spending. So almost half the money for a group that is clearly among the highest need in the district. If that number is still too high, then, as has been said, let's figure it out. We have to figure out a way to get something started. Once approved, we can move forward, apply for grants, private funds, internships. Most likely, this would be a beacon, as many have said, for other gateway cities. And I think if we really thought about it, it could turn into a real commodity for the school. If you have all of our neighbors facing similar problems, that we're all looking for a solution. Truly, if I've learned anything during my time at Malden High School, it's that budgets are an obstacle, not an excuse. If we really want to solve the problem, we can. It's just that it requires everybody saying, this is a real need and this is important. And I think I would echo everything that has been said tonight. And I think, I don't know about you, but I've really been moved over the last 90 minutes by some of the stories that we've heard about our students and by the lengths that our teachers are already going to try and fill those gaps and meet those needs. So thank you for your time tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.